And good day. It is a Thursday here on Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Welcome in. We appreciate you taking us along wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. We appreciate you taking us along for the ride. Justin Kalen's high atop the crew chief's box.
That's right.
Keeping the engine spinning. Hope your day has been going well and continues to do that. We've got Terry Hutchens on the program today, 20-year beat writer. You know him if you've followed Indiana sports at all. Stu Jackson, also from Hoosier.com, along as well. Before we get any further, though, let's get to Justin and the headlines.
All right, here are your headlines for this September 13th on this Thursday. Brought to you by Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart, located on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. Make sure you stop in for your free or your hot breakfast. You fill your gas tank,
giving it away,
or give one of their daily lunch specials. Daily lunch special today: $4.99 brats, sauerkraut, and potatoes. Seattle Storm sweep the Washington Mystics 3-0 to win the WNBA championship. And the Red Sox, after clinching a playoff spot on Tuesday, hit 100 wins for the first time since 1946. And the Ravens and the Bengals set to take the field tonight in Thursday Night Football. Those are your headlines for this September 13th. Brought to you by Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart, located on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. Don't forget your lunch special today, $4.99, brats, sauerkraut, and potatoes.
You think the Bengals will be led by their fearless leader whose head's ablaze?
Absolutely.
As our good friend Captain Andrew Luck would say.
He's had some funny tweets lately.
Yeah? Well, we should hear one. I always enjoy them.
See if I can't get one pulled up.
Yeah, I wish I'd have had that pulled up quickly. But Captain Andrew Luck, if you're not following him, it's a Twitter account that is worth following. It's pretty comical. But the greatest thing of all, he's got like 250,000 followers. But it's so big that the other day, the Indianapolis Colts had a spoof, a video that they made where they're supposedly interviewing Captain Andrew Luck, and he's cloaked in darkness, and his voice is muffled. And at the end, they thanks him, and he said, "Okay, no problem." He stands up, and the light comes on, and it's actually Andy Luck, Andrew Luck. So it was funny.
Yeah, that'd be something if you found out it really was Andrew Luck.
Any luck?
Ooh, I see what you did there.
Oh yeah, that's creative.
Yeah, so it was his birthday, I guess, yesterday, and so he tweets, "Dearest Mother, I have received your special care package on this, my 29th natal day. The sweetened gopher knees were a particular treat. The squirrel fur socks fit perfect. I shall enjoy every moment of this day, for our march to Washington continues tomorrow."
I guess they play the how would he put it? The tanned-skinned folks, which would be the Redskins.
Those who our skin is red.
I don't know how he would put it in revolutionary terms. Burned, who knows? Glowing.
There you go.
Glowing. But, yeah, funny account. IU Hall of Fame class is been announced for 2018. Surprisingly, you're not in it.
Yeah, I keep waiting.
Brian Evans headlines the 2018 IU Hall of Fame class. During his time in Bloomington, Brian Evans shouldered a heavy load for the Hoosiers. Now the former Indiana basketball great is headed to the IU Athletics Hall of Fame. Evans headlines this year's class, which also includes fellow inductees Monica Armendariz from softball, Rochelle Bostic from women's basketball, Sam Komar wrestling, Ann Lawver from volleyball, softball, and Glenn Skolnick from football. The 2018 class will be inducted at the annual Hall of Fame dinner on Friday, November 9th.
Congrats to them.
Absolutely. Evans lettered at Indiana from 93 to 96. He's one of 12 IU men's basketball players to receive the Big Ten Most Valuable Player honors. So that's kind of stands him alone right there. The Terre Haute native earned the award after averaging 21 points and 7 rebounds as a senior. in 96. Evans played through a dislocated shoulder during the Big Ten season his sophomore year, endearing himself to IU fans with his toughness and determination to stay on the floor. How about that?
Good job. Good for Evans.
Yeah. That was like his time was the beginning of the end for Knight. That was 95. That was 5 years away from D-Day.
But it was, like you said, it was going down before then.
Well, they just hadn't, after the 93 squad, Final Four, a team that should have won the national championship had it not been for an injury to Alan Henderson. But you would think. Nothing's ever certain. But, after that, no success in the NCAA tournament the rest of the time.
You think that discouraged Bob Knight at all?
You think what?
That discouraged him, that 93 team?
Discouraged him?
Yeah, I mean, you've got this great team thinking you're going to win the national championship. You end up suffering an injury. That doesn't happen. It just seems a little like it could be discouraging in terms of
You're talking about
being
a man
coach.
who didn't lose a game for an entire season and lost in the tournament to a team you had beaten by 20-something already because of an injury in 1975.
So, no.
No.
I'm just thinking the last days of his coaching job.
He's literally, his nickname's the General, I'm not a big backer of Bob Knight. I think he's as a person, a jackass. But as a coach, genius. And his nickname being the General, he's like that. He's very, he can disassociate emotionally and make decisions on the fly, make changes, make adjustments, see things differently than a lot of people because of that. Which is one of the things that made him a great coach. Yep. So no, I don't think so. And plus, like I said, he'd been through that. In 75, they didn't lose a game. Scott May breaks his arm, and they lose to a team that they had beaten by 20-something that season. Then the next season they would go undefeated again. So he'd had the experience. So it just, but he had the talent this time. But that was just a center is probably tougher to overcome than a guard position. On top of that, which is what Allen was playing when he got hurt.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Lots of games coming up this weekend. Nothing huge. Anything you're looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to that Ohio State TCU game. I'm trying to see how legit Ohio State is. We talked yesterday. They've scored 129 points in 2 games.
Most in Division One.
They're not going to do that against TCU. So I'll be interested to see how that plays out. It should be a good defensive game. Not a whole heck of a lot of points, although I'm sure both teams will score.
Here's I'm trying to find some of the better games from a betting standpoint. Here's one. Boise State is on the road at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is a 2.5-point favorite.
Who do you like that for?
Well, I'm going with Oklahoma State.
Okay. I thought you were insinuating you would take Boise. I was like, I don't think
so that leaves you with Boise State.
My money's gone. I don't win.
So Boise State is a plus 2.5, and that is at Oklahoma State. So I get that. I'm going to win that one.
I didn't really get a fair share there.
Well, I got to pick first. You always get to pick first. I'll give you another one. All right, here's no, that's not so good. Michigan is a 35.5-point favorite over SMU. Man, how far SMU has fallen.
I'll take SMU.
I'm sure you would. It's not on the docket. Wisconsin is a 21-point favorite over BYU. I mean, this is BYU, a great program, but Wisconsin right now, man, they're looking good.
That's a tough one. That's at Wisconsin or BYU?
That's at Wisconsin. It's not tough for me.
Yeah, no.
They'll be jumping around. That's another great tradition in college football.
My all-time favorite tradition until the Iowa Wave came around.
The jump around at Wisconsin's. What's the name of the stadium?
Ooh, great question.
Anyway, when do they do that?
I think after the third quarter, between the third and the fourth quarters.
So they do this. They play the song "Jump Around," which, again, on a show with a faster producer, we'd be listening to "Jump Around."
I've already got it. I've already got it pulled up for our commercial break.
Oh,
come on! You can't throw me in. Can't drag me through the dirt when I'm prepared like that.
Oh, you should have let her rip.
You want it right now? Nope. You got to wait till commercial.
Oh man. Anyway, so
Camp
they play
Randall.
"Jump Around" at Camp Randall Stadium in Madison, Wisconsin. There you go, Camp Randall. And you've got 80-something thousand people jumping around. Man, I would be worried if I was in that stadium.
I'd be pumped.
Because that's a lot of weight going up and down, stressing that thing every time. Where they're normally, you've got the people in there, so the weight is in there, but it's not jumping up and down on it.
Right.
Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Who knows? Notre Dame is a 13.5-point favorite over at home. Only, okay, get this. Indiana's a 14-point favorite over Virginia of Ball State, right?
Yep.
It's already been, it's already been out there. Notre Dame's at home to Vanderbilt, 13.5. Explain that one to me.
Well, I think it probably has to do with the fact that Vanderbilt's 2-0. They're coming from the SEC. That's a Power 5 conference. Ball State.
I don't care if they're coming from Bogota.
I
It's
don't,
Vanderbilt,
I'm
man.
not saying that I agree with it. You said explain it to you. I'm trying to do my best.
Explain it to me in a way that that I'm going to, here's your big game. Ding, ding, baby. Mark it down. All right. Here's your next try. I'll give you first pick.
All right.
Number 12. LSU and the Bengal Tigers, Ned Orgeron. With some sling blade. Take it on the Auburn Tigers, number 7. Auburn's a 10-point favorite.
At Auburn?
It's at Auburn.
I'll go Auburn.
All right, so LSU is plus 10 at Auburn, and Justin takes Auburn.
3-touchdown win.
Not surprising, because LSU always seems to let people down.
Yep.
Let's see. Anything is Georgia. They're playing Middle Tennessee, so there's a 33-point game. Here you go. And it's not because it's a great game. Texas is hosting USC. A battle of the busts. I call this a battle of the busts. Texas is a 3-point favorite over USC. They're both 1-1. There you go. There's a pick for you.
I want USC.
All right, so USC is -3, and Justin takes at Texas.
Tough. A little tough.
And then we get to the Grand Poobah, Ohio State at TCU. Ohio State's a 13.5-point favorite.
Really? I'll go TCU.
All right, perfect, because I wanted Ohio State. They'll cover. I promise you. So OSU is -13.5 at TCU, and Justin takes TCU. So you got to pick all of them.
The last 3, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's because I jumped in and said my answer before you could take one. That way you just had to take the opposite.
It's okay. They worked out how I would have picked. All right, so these are 4 picks. So what's riding on the line? Lunch at Bubba's.
Fair enough.
Lunch at Bubba's on Friday for free. Lunch Friday for everybody else. Got a shirt we'll be giving away. And also, hey, how about we've got 4 tickets to the football game if you're able to go. Giving away Friday. More details on that coming. We'll be back with more here on Indiana Sports Beat. Stay tuned right after this.
Pack it up, pack
This is Jim Coyle. When I'm not on the road covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 on the northeast side of I-65 at Veterans Parkway in Clarksville. Bring the team in for that post-win meal in the family dining area or just meet friends for happy hour. Bubba's has bold burgers, hand-tossed pizzas, mouth-watering wings, and a list of select local craft brewers for the coldest beer in town. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Burgers, pizza, beer.
If you're a homeowner and have storm damage to your roof, you want a hometown contractor you can count on and trust. Brooks Roofing of New Albany has been doing quality work since 2006. Check out their work for yourself at brooksroofingin.com. No job is too big or too small, commercial or residential. Brooks Roofing is probably working in your neighborhood right now. Visit brooksroofingin.com or call 812-868-ROOF. That's 812-868-ROOF. Brooks Roofing, the protection you need when nature strikes.
Today's guest is brought to you by Brooks Roofing, the protection you need when Mother Nature strikes. BrooksRoofingIN.com.
You get a shiver in the dark.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle here on Big X. Matt Weaver from Peaks.com joins us now. Matt, how you doing, friend?
I'm doing pretty good. How you guys doing?
Great. Week 3 of college football coming up. Can't believe I just said that. It's unbelievable. It seemed like we were waiting and waiting. Now we're into the third week already.
Yeah, it goes by quick. I mean, it feels like fall camp just started a few days ago, but it's been a little, obviously still a while longer than that. We're already into week 3 and almost into the Big Ten season.
Week 2, obviously Indiana took on ACC foe Virginia in a monsoon. How much can you really get out of a game like that? It's a game that you're basically just trying to survive, not turn the ball over, and not get hurt and win.
Yeah, I think what you can get is maybe kind of how mentally tough your team is. How I guess how disciplined they can be in conditions like that, and just kind of do their job and kind of fight through the elements. And I think Indiana did. They did a really good job. I mean, they only turned the ball over once the whole night. That was the interception by Peyton Ramsey, where he admitted it. He got greedy, just made a poor decision there, tried to throw the ball back across his body. But I think you can take that out of it. I mean, as far as some plays, I mean, obviously your playbook is scaled pretty far back because there's just certain things you can't run, especially in the second half. I mean, Coach DeBoer talked about that on Monday at the press conference, that the ball got so heavy in the second half that they kind of had to kind of go away from throwing it too much, just because it was too difficult in the conditions. So I think you can take some of that from it, but as far as certain plays or execution of certain things, it's going to be tough just because the conditions make it so hard.
Talking with Matt Weaver from Peaks.com, and we did not see Michael Penix play at all in that game. And afterwards, we saw that Coach Allen had said that the plan was for him to play, but with the conditions, they decided not to put him in regards to ball safety, ball security, I'm sure. This week, obviously, he'll play. I think he'll play a substantial amount this week. I think this is an opportunity for him to step up and show whether or not he can take over the starting spot.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. How much he'll play, we'll have to see. But I think he'll get. I would think he'll get more than he did down at Florida National. You kind of hope to, just so you can get more of a sample size of what he can do. We saw what happens when he comes in. We talked about it after week 1. When he comes in, it changes the dynamic of the offense. They immediately start going downfield. They stretch the field more with their passing game. One of his first passes was the long pass to Walt Philly, where they got the pass interference, 50 or 55-yard throw. So it changes things. I mean, he can obviously run too, so that part of the game is still in play for him. It's just I would love to see more of Michael Penix, just to kind of see if it validates what I've seen in practice, and if he could be as good as I believe he can be.
Yeah, because to me, it changes the entire dynamic of who that team is and what that they're capable of from an offensive standpoint, and what the defense on the other side has to prepare for. I think that it makes it a lot easier for the defenses right now when Peyton Ramsey is in there.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, to me, it goes back to, with Ramsey, they can definitely stretch the field side to side, but, we've also got to be able to stretch it down the field with the passing game. And they do throw some balls with Ramsey, but it's almost like it's low, you're trying to almost sneak up on the defense, or it's you're trying to catch them at the right time. With Penix, you can just drop him back and let him throw that ball, because he's just got such a great arm, that even if the defense knows it's coming, he can still make the throw. So, it's just that to me is the biggest thing. There's some other throws he can make, you're on one hash and the receiver runs a 15-yard out on the other side of the field. That's a long throw. That's a tough throw. You got to have arm strength to do that, and he can do that. And that's the kind of throw where if you don't have the arm strength, you can get picked off. So just stuff like that. Just fitting it into smaller windows. There's things that he can do. But Peyton Ramsey has played well. It's not like he's not played good. I mean, he is. I think he's thrown 5 touchdowns and a couple picks. He's run the ball well when he's had the chance. His completion percentage is really good. He's done a good job. It's not that Peyton Ramsey's not played well at all. I think he's played really well. It's just I think there's another level this offense can go to, I believe, if Michael Penix gets more snaps.
I agree 1,000%. And then talk about Ball State coming in. It's a team that had a good outing defensively, especially against Notre Dame, at Notre Dame. They intercepted Notre Dame 3 times. They had several tackles for loss. They had several sacks. So this is not a thin defense coming into play in Bloomington.
Yeah, it's interesting. The D coordinator at Ball State, David Elson's a good friend of mine. He was on the staff at IU when Kevin Wilson first came in, and he's an Indianapolis guy, Cathedral guy. Was at Western Kentucky for a number of years. Just tremendous guy and a good coach, and he's done a nice job there. They play a 3-4. That's kind of defense he's always employed. He's a defensive kind of background. And I didn't get to see the Notre Dame game. Because of the timing, it was just, I was traveling down and didn't get to see it, but obviously kind of, read about it and you looked at the stats. I don't know how much, you don't want to look too much at stats just because sometimes they can be skewed or they can lie to you, but they definitely seem to do a pretty good job. Now, Notre Dame helped them out with some turnovers. Kind of wonder how much Notre Dame's players were into that game after playing Michigan. They had all that emotion for that game. Was it a little bit of a letdown trap game? I'm not sure. I'm not taking anything away from Ball State, but they obviously went in there and did a good job. So Indiana's going to have to, they can't sleepwalk through this game. They're going to have to show up and play.
No, but Las Vegas has made them a 14-point favorite, which surprised me a little bit after getting by Virginia by just 4 and with Ball State staying within 8 of Notre Dame. I was surprised to see that line.
Yeah, I guess so. I think it's a game that Indiana could win by a couple touchdowns if they play well. I mean, I think if you get the kind of the way the offense has been playing, and then if the defense plays like it did, I think defense played pretty well against Virginia. I mean, that was now obviously the conditions help, but even with that, sometimes the conditions can also be a factor for defense. It can make it harder to make tackles, to do things, and that quarterback Bryce Perkins for Virginia. That guy's very athletic. He's tough to bring down. We saw the first drive; he had some big plays, and then they pretty much shut him down. So Ball State's got a good quarterback, Riley Neal, who can throw and run. He's a big guy, like 6'5". They got a running back he's from here in Indianapolis, James Gilbert, who is a really good back. So they've got some skill guys. So it'll be important on defense. Stop the run. Hopefully get some pressure on Riley Neal, and then offensively, keep running the ball, pound Stevie Scott, and then take your chances in the pass game when they present themselves.
Yeah, and then of course with the defense has improved, they have to continue to improve. And with Peyton Ramsey, his play, like you said, he hasn't done anything wrong. He's played fine. He's played good enough for him to win. But I think that, as you said, I think that that's about where it ends. What does Michael Penix have to do to change that? Because with Peyton playing well enough to win and not making very many mistakes, the bar seems to be it's got to be a little higher for him to actually take over that spot.
Yeah, I mean that's a tough question. I mean, I'm not at practice, so but I think you just gotta keep doing what you're doing if you're Michael Penix. You got to keep kind of if you keep playing and practicing. If he's practicing the way he did in fall camp, which I'm assuming he is, we don't practice has been closed since the season started. That you're going to press the issue, and I mean the coaches see it too. They see the talent. I think the biggest detriment for Michael Penix is he's just a young guy. He's inexperienced. Whether people won't agree with that's the reason why he's not playing more, that's fine. I think it's definitely debatable. We've seen other programs go with young quarterbacks. Indiana decided to kind of ease him in. But I just think just keep doing what you're doing. Keep working hard. The coaches recognize that. Football, these guys, they want to win. They need to win. They understand that, and they're going to play the guys that help them win. The most games possible. And I think Michael Penix, does that, and I think they know that. I just think you just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, there's some things you can't control as a player, and how much you get on the field is one of them. All you can do is go out there and show the coaches you deserve to play more, and at some point that's going to happen.
And if they win this game, which they should, that makes them 3-0, which is a very, very big deal because you're halfway to bowl eligibility, and that leaves them with only 3 games that they have to win. But that's gotten a little tougher as it originally had been. Maryland, a little bit tougher than a lot of people thought they were going to be.
Yeah, they're playing well. Especially, obviously it's been, really difficult circumstances. Obviously with the player there who passed away tragically, and then with their coach being gone, and an interim coach who, the interim coach there, Matt Canada, is another guy who's actually a really good friend of mine. He was at IU for a number of years, and really a great guy, and I'm happy for him that it's going well. But it's a tough deal, but they're playing well. Got two wins to start the season, so yeah, they're playing tough. Minnesota, watched them a little bit. They just lost their running back to a knee injury for the season, so that's a blow for them. They're playing a walk-on true freshman quarterback. Michigan State, they had a tough loss on Saturday. That's who Indiana will play in Week 4 at home. I think that's a game that's winnable. You have to play good, but it's definitely out there for the taking. Iowa's another game where they're playing really well defensively, but they have struggled offensively the first couple weeks. But I think that's another game that's winnable. So there's some games out there. You're gonna have to play good. I mean, you just not have to show up. I mean, this isn't obviously we know with Indiana you can't just show up. But you're not Ohio State or Penn State or some of these other places. But if they come out and they play like they're capable of, I think I've said it before. 6 wins is very doable, and nothing's changed my thinking on that.
Matt Weaver from Pigs.com. We appreciate you joining us each Wednesday, as always.
Okay, thanks, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Matt Weaver from Pigs.com. That's where you can check out his stuff, Pigs.com, as well as everything else. Make sure that if you're following us on iTunes, give us a review. We'd appreciate it. You can sign up there if you haven't to get each and every show delivered to you, as well as Google Play and IndianaSportsBeat.com. You can find us on Facebook as well, where most of the interviews are posted now, everything up there. So go there and check it out. We've got more coming up. Ryan O'Gara, beat writer from the Muncie Star Press, will get the Ball State perspective on this weekend's upcoming game here on Indiana Sports Beat, coming up next.
Got a problem with your big truck? Kentuckiana's Premier Truck Center is here to help. For over 30 years, truck drivers and fleet operators have depended on their great service center off I-65 in Clarksville. And now you can get the same level of service, repairs, and part selection that's been offered for generations and save on bridge tolls with their new location on the Outer Loop in South Louisville. They're an authorized Mack, Volvo, and Hino dealer and service center, but they service all makes and models of trucks. Kentuckiana's Premier Truck Center.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Good day to you. 40 minutes past the hour. Here on this Thirsty Thursday, Justin Kalen high atop the crew chief's box.
That's right.
Got a lot of inclement weather coming into the East Coast.
A little bit.
Hurricane Florence. They're calling it the storm of a lifetime. I have family that actually lives in North Carolina.
Bigger than Katrina.
Well, I don't know about that. But that's a different scenario where New Orleans was submerged is below sea level. But it's just going to be a direct hit onto the East Coast and North South Carolina right in there, and then it's going to turn south. But it's going to sit there for days, apparently, because of the pressures around it, keeping it there, and it's just going to dump wind and rain on the same area, which is, it usually doesn't happen. Usually a storm comes and it passes through.
Yeah.
Well, this is just going to be, it's like going into a fight with Mike Tyson. Instead of it being a flurry and getting out of the corner, he just holds you in the corner for like 2 days and just pounds the living crap out of you.
Not an ideal scenario.
Not something I'd look forward to.
They detected a wave on radar imaging last night, 83 feet tall.
I saw that.
My goodness.
And I was trying to think, put 83 feet into perspective. If you played baseball, the distance between home plate and first base is 90 feet. So imagine a wave from home to first, that tall.
I'm thinking of it in terms of put 8 basketball goals on top of each other. That is tall.
It's just a wave of water, a moving wave of water after another and another. That's in the eye of the hurricane, I believe.
Yeah, not good.
But yeah, can you 83 feet?
Did your family leave?
No, they're in the Charlotte area. So no, they're just expecting to get pounded by water. I mean, they don't know how much they're going to get. Really, it could be up to a foot. But a lot of games have been postponed because of that. Along the East Coast, I noticed. I don't know if they've already been set for new times, but UCF, number 18 UCF in North Carolina, they were supposed to play. I don't know what's going to happen with that. East Carolina, Virginia Tech, number 13 Virginia Tech, number 14 West Virginia, and was that North Carolina State? I don't know what's going on with that. I know Virginia, I think it's Virginia, is playing. Whoever they're playing over in Nashville.
Nice.
At Vanderbilt Stadium, because Vanderbilt is going to be up north getting their tails kicked by Notre Dame, where they're only what did I say?
13-point favorite.
Oh, that wasn't part of our deal, was it?
It was not, no.
Should have thrown it in there as a kicker?
Nah. I don't want any part of that.
Come on.
Nope.
Little bonus.
No, I'm out.
Come on.
I'm out. Speaking of game cancellations, did you see the UCF exchange with Maine football on Twitter?
No.
Maine, so UCF posts that their game was canceled due to Hurricane Florence. Maine football, I guess they were supposed to play UCF last season. It got canceled, so they write, "Hey UCF, we're sorry to hear that your game is canceled this weekend. Still waiting to hear about that makeup date from our 2017 cancellation. We have an open date this Saturday at Alphonse Stadium. What do you say, national champs?"
Little tweaking. Man, how about that?
Firing some shots. Come play us.
Over the bow. Man. Airing out the dirty laundry.
Love it.
Apparently not getting a response from the athletic
No,
department.
UCF has not responded yet, at least via Twitter.
Huh.
Good stuff.
Coming up, we've got, we're here from Tom Allen and Archie Miller today. We've also got Stu Jackson on the program from thehoosier.com, Indiana Rivals, and 20-year veteran beat writer Terry Hutchens, all on the program today. So we've got plenty to talk about with football and basketball news. Trace Jackson Davis had an in-home visit with Archie Miller and crew yesterday. We'll talk about that as well. I heard you chuckling.
A couple text into the show. 502-414-1450 if you want to do the same. JR says 83 feet is also as far as Ramsey can throw a ball.
Can he throw it that far?
Yeah, it's what, 30?
That's 30 yards, man.
Yeah.
No, it's not
Almost
quite
30
30 yards, but that's well over, yeah.
That's why I was laughing.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
No.
And then Joker says, if Penix comes in and proves he can stretch the field, Stevie Scott will have a monster day.
Maybe.
But,
You'd think.
I thought he had a monster day last week.
Yeah, you would think. But what's because he was getting all the carries, and that's how they were gaining all their yards. If they're gaining chunks of yards elsewhere, he'll have a nice day, but it won't be as big as that.
If he puts up 200 this week again, does he have unrealistic expectations moving forward?
Does he?
Or does from Hoosier fans?
Oh,
not himself.
Hell yeah. I would think so. I mean, obviously, this is a team that played a great game against Notre Dame last week, defensively. So if Indiana can do that, gash them a little bit, yeah. I mean, it would certainly give you expectations.
Yeah.
I would have them because you forget, this is a line of experience. We talked about this ad nauseum going into the season. This should be a prolific offense.
Yeah.
The conversation has been hijacked by the quarterback talk because it's been nonstop with Brandon Dawkins coming in, expected to get the job, and not getting the job. That was a big story. Then leaving, then that was a big story. Then now we got Michael Penix because they just are not going to be anything special without something special.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the best way to put it right there.
Yeah.
Coin that phrase.
That's the best way I've heard you.
You're not going to be anything special without someone doing something special.
Yeah.
And that means Michael Penix or Stevie Scott.
Yeah.
You see what happens when you get special performances. It takes a special performance. That's why you can't rely on the status quo. You can't rely on the same O because it'll work part of the time. Sure, it will. And you'll have a little success. But you're not going to have ongoing, consistent, lasting success, which is exactly what Indiana football has not had.
Yep.
But you got to take a chance. Got to stick a quarterback in when maybe he's not ready. Take a chance. Maybe you get something special out of him. Stevie Scott, case in point. Did they expect he was going to go for 200 yards? I doubt it.
I don't know that they thought he was going to be a ball carrier in the backfield as much or any, period.
Well, they just didn't know, but I promise you they didn't expect him to go for 200 yards last week.
We didn't hardly hear his name until
the point
season
is,
started.
put him in special. You got these special players, put them in because sometimes they do special things. And when they do special things happen.
It's like another example, Reese Taylor. Guy you can just plug in anywhere, and he's liable to make a big play.
And I noticed he didn't have a great game last week.
No.
He didn't get that many touches because what was working, because that wasn't working. The couple of touches he got smothered. But what was working? Stevie Scott.
Feeding him the rock.
Kept on with it.
I do have a sound Tom Allen talking about Stevie Scott.
Let's have a listen.
Well, I think I learned this a long time ago, that the good Lord decides who the good running backs are, and you have a gift to know how to run, and I worked for a guy that made that exact quote to me, and I'm telling you, and that was a long time ago, and it is so true. And he used to tell me that all you got to do is this: you put your best young athletes back there and kick the ball to them on a live kickoff cover and see who can make people miss and see who can, advance the ball and go score. And because kids have that natural talent, it's really, there's no question. You develop skills. The thing that they struggle with when they're young, when they come to college, is the physical part of playing running back in this league and the mental part of the protections and just knowing what to do. But as far as being a running back and just what do you do with the ball in your hand, sometimes if you think too much, you're going to be ineffective. You just got to do what the good Lord gave you the skills to do. And there's no question that you got to technique this and teach that and everything. But I'm just telling you, it's kind of like even linebackers. I mean, you either got an act to get to the football or you don't. And it's hard to teach that. It's hard to create that. That's why you got to go recruit it. And so to me, you try and recruit the best players you can find that fit what you do, and then see who rises up. I challenge that group too. Like, hey, who's going to rise? That was our one word for last week. And I said, hey, we got a situation in the running back position that, got a couple guys down. And so, who's going to step up? Who's going to be the one and to fill the void? And obviously Stevie stepped up, answered the call, but the patience and the vision and the ability to cut and just that knack to run, and he's big, he's 240 pounds. And so that helps. And he's got good speed. He's not a blazer, but he's got good speed. He pulled away on that one long run and scored. But but it's the vision and patience and knowing how. Sometimes guys are almost too, they cut too quickly. But the really good ones have that ability to kind of just feel it. He's going to have to, like every player in this league. You have a big game, so then your expectations are raised, and he's got to just keep doing it week after week after week. But that was a special performance for sure, and there's not many guys who've done that in the past, and there's a reason for that. But at the same time, I think there's no reason why he can't expect himself to be a really good football player here, and he just needs to stay humble and hungry and keep working really hard, and he's got a lot of work to do to get better, and Coach Hart has done a great job. And I commend Coach Hart for getting him ready to play. I think we all saw the growth from week 1 to week 2, and that's the coaching that comes into play and how to handle him mentally. And I didn't sit him down and have some talk with him. I know Coach Hart is invested in all of his guys to get them ready to go. And we had, I couldn't have sat here and told him he's going to have a great night tonight. I wasn't sure who was going to step up. I knew which guys were going to get opportunities to, and then see what they do with it. But I just think that once again, it's there's a natural talent to running the football, and you got to go recruit.
Coach Tom Allen, head coach of the Indiana Hoosiers, they're talking about playing your best players. That's the truth. You put the best players on the field, which again is why I'm waiting for Michael Penix to be under center.
Funny he just brought that up.
Yeah. Teed it up for me. And I know that they know what they're doing, but you have to. They also are coaching to save their jobs at all times. So if you're not in a position like Urban Meyer where you can do whatever you want, you can risk whatever you want, which it's usually not as much of a risk anyway, but they look at it as it's a risk to put Penix out there. What's not risky? Putting Peyton Ramsey out there. It's status quo. It will be okay. They got to get away from that mindset. Got to get away from 3rd and 12 throwing a 5-yard pass. Yep. Got to get away from it. And, that's the offensive mindset on that team. I saw that last year and seen it thus far again this year. It's early on, yes. Maybe they have plans. Maybe this is their plan. And because we don't know what their plans are, but maybe this is their plan that Penix will, in the back of their mind, they're thinking that he's going to step up and take this as a challenge to come win this starting job. And maybe that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
To put the onus on him, to make him work that much harder. But for them to have anything special, you're going to have someone special at quarterback, and I'm sorry, but Peyton Ramsey is not special. He's okay. He does a good job.
It's like what Miles Jack said, or not Miles Jack, Jalen Ramsey from the Jaguars said about Blake Bortles. He gets the job done. That's what you could say about Ramsey. You put Ramsey out there, he's going to get the job done, albeit you may not like the way it's done. I understand that, but he's going to do what he's got to do. He's had one turnover in each game, but he's come back from those turnovers and played really well after the fact. So, it's his leadership and his experience out on the field, I think, really speaks volumes. But I don't disagree that you got to put Penix in. Give the kid a shot.
Well, like I said, they had planned on playing him last week. The rain changed all of that.
Right.
So got to give him a break for that. There's no doubt he's going to be seen this week. How much? That's the key. It's got to be more than 2 series. That's the thing. Yeah. He played 2 series in the Florida International game. It's not enough.
Well, you give him a half?
But, of course, he scored he's led him on a touchdown drive on his first series, I believe. So it wasn't like it was 2 plays. I think he should have played more in that game alone, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, They're worried about Penix turning the ball over. The only reason Ramsey hasn't turned the ball over has been luck so far. He threw 3 balls that could have been picked the other night so easily. Now, that was in a monsoon. Maybe that would have happened to anybody, but it wasn't anybody. He was in there, and he threw them. The pick that he did throw was not you're not going to blame that on the rain. Hell, he just threw it up. I just think it's time. It's time. It's time. If you want to move forward and try to elevate your season, you have to elevate it. You have to do something to elevate it.
I've got a sound clip from Tom Allen talking about playing Michael Penix.
Let's hear that.
We talked about that too yesterday. We really expected to play him, to be honest with you. And then as the game the weather conditions were so bad, Peyton was doing a good job and was comfortable out there. I know he threw the one pick, which was a mistake that he shouldn't have thrown. But I thought that was just a tough situation to put him in. And that really was, we were actually planning on playing him, and then we just kind of got into it, and it was, really a one-possession game for a lot of the time, especially the second half. So it's just circumstances didn't allow us to do that.
See, he doesn't sound definitive there. Well, it's circumstances didn't allow. Basically, what he's saying is we were afraid to do anything different. We were afraid to not do everything exactly the same.
Well,
that's what I hear.
If it's a one-score game, though, can you blame him?
Yes.
Ideally, when you
yes, I watched Peyton Ramsey play. Yes, he did nothing for me. He almost turned the ball over several times. He doesn't. I don't think that he did any better job than Penix could have done. Personally, I'm just sorry. That's just what I think. It's time to stop taking the same path, man. You want to be different? Do something different.
And that's the funny thing with a program like IU, who's had I was going to say success, but mediocrity that they've had over the years. You would think a program like that would take more chances and try to step out on the limb a little bit.
Yes, you would, because not is not going to get anywhere.
Right.
Now, I understand you can't just run willy-nilly, and I know you can't just run reckless, that there's a rhyme and a reason to things. I get that, and I'm okay with that, understanding that. But it's not knowing that, if that's the case. Like I said, it could be their plan all along that Penix will be starting.
Yeah.
They can, in their minds, I don't know. I do know that unless he is starting and playing more minutes, then that means they're not doing anything special. They're surviving. I don't think that they could beat Michigan State with Peyton Ramsey at quarterback, from what I've seen thus far. I don't think you can now.
But can you honestly say
Michigan State? Now that's not as vaunted a challenge as it was.
Can you honestly say, with what little you've seen Michael Penix, though, that you think he would go out there and definitively beat Michigan State?
No, but I can say this:
it'll be a better shot.
I'd like to take the shot.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the opportunity. I'd like to see if there's something different, something better out there that might.
Yeah.
Because that's like if you got a 10-foot putt and you hit it 9 feet 11 inches, it just doesn't have a chance.
It's the story of my golf game.
It doesn't have a chance. But if you hit it 10 feet 1 inch, it's got a shot. At least you got a shot.
Yeah.
I don't think they have a shot if they don't. That's my personal opinion. Let us know what yours is. You can fire up on the text line, 502-414-1450. Hit us up, let us know what you got going. We got Stu Jackson on the program today and Terry Hutchens. Stay tuned here on Indiana Sports Beat. We're coming right back with more.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle, Justin Kalen, Hot Top, the crew chief's box, keeping the tune spinning for us.
That's right.
Coach Archie Miller spoke out on IU basketball for the first time in a while. We'll get to that. Also on the program today, Stu Jackson from thehoosier.com, Terry Hutchens, 20-year veteran beat writer for the Hoosiers, that is. Before we get to any and all that, let's get to the headlines with Justin.
All righty. Here are your headlines for this September 13th on this Thursday, brought to you by Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart, located on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. Make sure you stop in for your hot breakfast, fill your gas tank, or get one of their daily lunch specials. Today for $4.99, brats, sauerkraut, and potatoes. The Seattle Storm sweep the Washington Mystics 3-0 to win the WNBA championship last night. And the Red Sox, after clinching a playoff spot on Tuesday, hit 100 wins this season for the first time since 1946. And the Ravens and the Bengals are set to take the field tonight in the second edition of Thursday Night Football in this 2018 season. Those are your headlines for this September 13th on your Thursday, brought to you by Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart, located on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. $4.99 today. Brats, sauerkraut, potatoes.
Hey, and welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Make sure you give us a follow on Indiana Sports Beat on Facebook. Also, you can sign up at indianasportsbeat.com or on iTunes or Google Play to have the show delivered to you each and every day. That way you don't miss a thing. Leave us a review, please, on iTunes or whichever one you're on. It helps us out a lot. We appreciate it. Shoot us a text if you wish. Get in on the conversation. 502-414-1450. Got Stu Jackson coming up on the program today. Any questions for him you might have? Or Terry Hutchens, a veteran 20-year beat writer. Terry with CNHI now. Formerly, you read him in the Louisville Courier-Journal and the Indianapolis Star. He's been around for a minute. Knows his stuff.
Yeah, no doubt.
Coach Archie Miller was on with John Rothstein couple days ago, talking about the Hoosiers' upcoming season, some players we haven't heard about for a minute. With Deron Davis being down, he was asked about the possibility of Indiana playing a smaller lineup, similar to what he was forced to do one year when he was at Dayton. Here's what he had to say.
No question, John. I think it happened to us last year amongst the run when Deron went down and Colin Hartman was out. We really focused in on Juwan Morgan being, a mismatch problem, and then playing Justin Smith around him. And Freddie McSwain a year ago will turn in this year to Forrester, Clifton Moore, Justin Smith, Fitzner, and Morgan. And if Deron isn't available, then you have the ability to do what you said, which is move people around, play a wide open style, put more athleticism on the court defensively where you can be quicker and cause some more problems. And in many ways, we grew up in January and February and played some of our best basketball with a smaller lineup. So I think we're more comfortable and more prepared to do it because they did it a year ago. And if Deron's back, obviously we'll have that 4-round one look.
And, Coach, you heard him mention Justin Smith, and he was a lot of big talk about Justin.
Guy looked like a volcano.
As in the offseason, when he increased his vertical leap 7 inches, that alone got a lot of attention. But he had a breakout season last year and really played well, and he was asked about Justin Smith being one of the players that's nationally under the radar.
Hopefully he's one of those guys that in our conference from freshman to sophomore looks a lot different. Physically he's gotten stronger. He's much more explosive and in much better shape. He's a year older. He's improved his skill level behind the three-point line, where we're hoping that that's something that's an added dimension to his game this year, which if you take him out of transition and you take him off putting the ball on the floor, he has the ability to stretch the floor a little bit better. But he's a very intelligent kid. He's smart, and I think with the run that he got a year ago, some ups and some downs like all young guys, he's more prepared to start us off at a much higher level. And to me, he's worked very hard, and I'm hoping that he gets off to a really good start.
Indiana.
And with the point guard being a position close to Archie's heart, of course, that's what he played at North Carolina State. John asked him about the differences possibly being seen by Devontae Green potentially at the point guard spot.
Well, I think, Devontae had his times last year where he showed remarkable court savvy, playmaking ability, shot-making ability. And when he did that, we were a different team. We had another guard out there that was contributing. When we won 3 in a row or 4 in a row, he was a big part of that. When we had our struggles, though, we had no point guard play, to be honest with you. And I think the one thing coming off the season with Devontae is he believes in our coaching staff. He knows we trust him. He knows that we're going to make him better. And I think at times when you have one foot in or one toe in, really unsure about the people around you, you can play games with yourself. And I think he got away from that this spring. When the season ended, he had as good of an off season, in the weight room and shooting the ball as any guy we had. That's continued through this fall where he's a much more mature guy in the locker room, much more mature guy in the weight room, much more mature person when we're doing things like conditioning or whether it be our individual practices or team workouts. So he's sort of evolved to a guy that believes in what we're doing, and that's always a great sign for a guy that has a chance to be a little bit more consistent.
Coach Archie Miller, Indiana Hoosiers, talking about some of the players potentially coming up this season, the impacts and differences they'll make. Interesting to see. And then also Trace Jackson Davis with an in-home visit yesterday with Archie Miller and the staff, and we'll hear about that. We'll talk to Drew Davis tomorrow. Today we'll talk to Terry Hutchens and Stu Jackson. Not a lot out on that right now. I'm sure that it went well, of course, which is what they always say. Oh, it went well. Well, of course it went well.
That was one that was rescheduled, right?
Yeah, because they were going to do 3 in a day.
Or last Sunday.
And just not able to do that, obviously. But, yeah, it was rescheduled. So, anyway, they just put out the tea and crumpets, and everyone has a wonderful time. Of course, they all go well, I'd say. Yeah. Can you imagine a home visit not going well? What?
I'd love to be there to see it.
I guarantee it's happened.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I promise you it's happened, and I'd love to have seen a review of that. That would be amazing. That'd be something. Hey, before I forget, you guys out there, the truck drivers, make sure you Kentucky and its premier truck center. If you need sales or service, Mack, Cummins, Volvo, check them out. 1606 Progress Way, Clarksville, Indiana. They also have a location over in Louisville, Kentucky. For you, but I know we have a lot of listeners on the road, over-the-road drivers, so there's a great place for you to get your sales and service taken care of. Kentuckiana's premier truck center. Talk to our guy, John O'Malley, or Aaron. They'll get you taken care of for sure. And also Brooks Roofing. When Mother Nature strikes, the protection you need is Brooks Roofing. Give Brad a call, or you can check him out online, brooksroofingin.com. Got a lot of storms coming in. Now's the perfect time.
Text into the show, 502-414-1450 if you want to do the same. Mad Dog texts in and says, give Tom Allen a break. He has a plan for the quarterback position. I'll never forget his first defensive series for IU. He ran out onto the field and met his defensive unit as they were coming off the field. He is the best thing to happen to IU football since Coach Hep. He
was definitely – I think he did that more than once.
Yeah.
He would definitely get fired up. I do. I want Coach Allen to be successful. He's a great, great guy. I love being around him, love talking to him.
The fact that he went back the next day and picked up the trash can tells you he's a great guy.
Oh, I already know that. His character is unimpeachable.
Absolutely.
It's just this conservative mindset on the offense. This Mike DeBoard, one yard in a cloud of dust thing. It's always worried me, and it still does. Step out of the box, man. You got to step out of the box. So, but
that's it. It's nothing against Tom Allen or the team.
That's his inexperience as a head coach, personally. He was never a head coach other than high school. So he's in his second season. He's got a lot of learning to do as a head coach, and I'm not saying I know it because I don't. But at least it's not. I'm not the only one who thinks this way. This is a very well-traveled opinion that the offense is just too conservative. There's not Indiana doesn't have a lot to lose. Let's face it. And here's the thing: a lot of the games that I put down as wins early on, Maryland.
Iffy now.
Maryland's 50-50. It's a coin. It's a toss-up, man. This is the team they lost to last year. Not by one score either. Now, this game is going to be at home this year, but they're playing well. They beat Texas to start the season. They're 2-0. Matt Canada will be coming home. This is a great year, a great opportunity to beat a team like Michigan State. Yep. You're going to have them at home. They're not playing well. But guess what? Neither are you particularly. You're playing okay. It's a game you can't just play okay and win. That's my point. You've got to play better than okay to win those kind of games. Yep. And there's an opportunity for you right there. Boom. You got them at home. They're kind of reeling a little bit. You got them back on their heels. You got to hit them in the jaw. Dude, you got to drop them. And you're not going to drop them throwing 5-yard passes on 3rd and 12 every time.
No. The one thing I worry about if Indiana were to win that Michigan State game and move to 4-0, that Rutgers game on the road the following week, it kind of scares me. Seems like such a trap game.
I don't think that should have all that stuff is always scary. But here's a team who should never, ever have a letdown. Indiana. Who are you letting down to? You can't have a letdown. No, it's not allowed. So, but I get it. It makes sense. But let's cross that bridge when we get to it.
Right.
That would be a good problem to worry about. But we'll get to that at another time or later on in the season. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Stu Jackson from thehoosier.com. Stay tuned. We've got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle right after this.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
Today's guest is brought to you by Brooks Roofing, the protection you need when Mother Nature strikes. BrooksRoofingIN.com. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle here on Big X. Stu Jackson from thehoosier.com joins us now. Stu, how are you?
Jim, doing excellent this morning. How about yourself?
Glad to see you made it through the typhoon that we had last week in Bloomington.
Yeah, no kidding. That's about one of the strangest games I've ever covered in my short time as both a professional journalist or even going back to my time as a student journalist at IU. So, nonetheless, it was Indiana came out with a win and ended up being a fairly competitive game.
Yeah, I think back all the games I've covered, I've attended, coached, played in. I don't recall a game that it was raining when I stepped onto the field, and when I stepped off, it's raining the exact same with just seemed like it never changed. It just rained the whole time. Rained.
Yeah, and the weird thing too was normally, I think whenever I've covered a football game where it's rained, it's either stopped at some point or at least it was just raining, straight down. I've never seen the rain falling at an angle with the wind and everything else going on. So definitely kind of a bizarre scenario weather-wise, but still an interesting game anyway.
Because of the weather, we saw a very muted Indiana offense last week. No Michael Penix. They were just not wanting to put him in that situation, so they struggled through with Peyton Ramsey, who got the job done. And I think that's about all you can say is he got the job done. Because when I rewatched that game, there were several throws that could have easily been picked off. And that game could have been different.
Yeah, and I think the one thing, in fairness to Ramsey, and I think this would have even been the case if Penix had come in, Indiana was rotating footballs as often as they could so that, because what was happening was the footballs were filling up with, all the water from the rainfall, and it was making them heavy and difficult to throw. And so, as a result, I think that made things a little bit more challenging than, it normally is for Ramsey. But, I think given the conditions, he still, he did, as best he could, as best as anybody probably could. It wasn't too surprising to see them kind of emphasize running the ball and handing it off to Stevie Scott, especially, after how well he did in week one as far as, getting 4, 5, 6 yard gains off of carries and just helping them move the chains and things like that. So,
no doubt it would have been difficult for anybody to throw the ball in those conditions. And it's not that I know that throws were very, very difficult, but some of the decisions was what I questioned. Then this was after I rewatched it. I'm like, wow. So I think that's something they'll see going forward. But the reason we didn't see Penix, that should not be a problem this week. He'll have his opportunity. And I said it earlier. I just for them to do anything special this year, I think it's going to take a special effort by someone, and I think that's going to have to come from, say, Michael Penix along with Stevie Scott. And then you've got a Stevie Scott who's had a breakout performance. He gave him a glimpse in the week one at Florida International, like you said. And then now he's got 274 yards on 51 attempts. He's a proven commodity, it looks to be.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt that he's been a pleasant surprise, so to speak. I mean, granted, I don't think Indiana expected to be in a position where, heading into, week two, they were without, their top two leading rushers from, the 2017 season. But, nonetheless, Stevie Scott's really stepped up. And, the thing that I've been really impressed with is just his patience and vision. It just doesn't seem like you see that very often from, a true freshman running back or even, an underclassman. I don't even think I've seen that from some sophomores very often. And so, there's no question. He's listed number 2 on the depth chart, but that's, unofficial anyway, and more of a ceremonial practice than anything else. So, he's definitely, the lead guy in the backfield and the guy who's probably going to be, carrying the load there for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, you mentioned he's number 2 on the depth chart, which he is, comically. I had Ryan O'Gara on yesterday, the beat writer for Ball State, and he mentioned the same thing. He goes, I noticed he's number 2 on the depth chart. So it's kind of a running joke to people. He's obviously the man when it comes to the running back position, but still listed as number 2 on the depth chart. But speaking of that depth chart that used to hold Morgan Ellison's name, Coach Allen talked earlier today. He's still in contact with Morgan Ellison, checking on him, but he's just still suspended from all team activities indefinitely at the moment, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. That was originally mentioned on the BTN broadcast that, he was still in, regular communication with Morgan Ellison, and and he confirmed that at his weekly press conference. And so, yeah, still suspended indefinitely, but Allen meets with them about once a week. But beyond that, he didn't really get into any specifics as far as what they discuss at those meetings and things like that.
And I saw where he's still working out and using the facilities and staying in shape and working with the strength and conditioning staff. So if he's able to get whatever his situation is worked out, then he'll hopefully be ready to go again.
Yeah, no question. I'm sure, as far as, what's going on, the details there are still unclear and, or, remaining private, and so, for him, obviously, it's to his benefit to, be as prepared as he can possibly be, depending on, if this, indefinite suspension were to end at some point this year. So, that's, that, I guess, makes sense from that perspective as far as just staying ready, just because you never know.
Talking with Stu Jackson from the Hoosier.com. I mentioned I spoke with Ryan O'Gara from the Star Press in Muncie yesterday, and Ball State, they're not coming for a paycheck. They went up to Notre Dame and South Bend and gave them a great game, lost by 8, a one-score game there, and they're coming to Bloomington with the mindset of trying to win that game. So Indiana's got to be on its toes playing a MAC team. It's not unprecedented that they lose to Ball State. It's happened before.
Yeah, that's one thing that, Tom Allen mentioned on his radio show last night was that, Indiana's lost to Ball State, in 3 of the last 4 games that the two teams have played one another. And so, he's made a point to make sure that, his players are mindful of that and mindful of the fact that this is an opponent to be respected and taken seriously and all of those things. The thing that was kind of crazy from the, Notre Dame game last week is, Ball State ran 97 plays, which is the most offensive plays by an opponent ever as far as the number of offensive plays run against Notre Dame in the history of Notre Dame's program, which is crazy. So they have a very capable offense, that's for sure. One other thing that Alan mentioned too was that this is a different Ball State team, partly because they're much healthier than they were a year ago. Riley Neal, the quarterback, battled injuries last year, and I think their starting running back did too, if I remember correctly. So now that they have those 2 key guys healthy, it's making a big difference, at least offensively. And so, there's no question that, I think, it's definitely going to be a competitive game on Saturday. And if you're Indiana, the Indiana coaching staff or Indiana's players, as Alan's already mentioned, they unquestionably have your full attention, especially after how they took on Notre Dame last weekend.
Yeah, they ran 99 plays. That's something Don Fisher pointed out on Monday. But not only that, they didn't get a ton of yardage, just under 400, I think. But that comes out to be about 4 yards a play. That's enough to get you first downs every time. So not only are they obviously a very fast-paced team, but they're successful as well. So obviously the Indiana defense is going to have to step up. They've improved from game 1 to game 2, but they're obviously going to have to keep that moving forward as they take on this Ball State team.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing too is just for Indiana's defense to they're going to have to put a lot of pressure, or as much pressure as they possibly can on Ball State's quarterback. I mean, he's someone that Allen said is probably the best, one of the best, if not the best pure passer they'll face all year. Which is a pretty high praise from him. So they'll have to put pressure on him and really cause him to force throws, because he's gonna when he's given the time, chances are he's gonna complete the pass and do so in a very accurate manner.
That's something they haven't done a great job of thus far. At least I haven't seen them do this year, is put pressure on the quarterback. They haven't gotten to the quarterback much, if all, thus far, which, again, last week, kind of an anomaly. That quarterback, Perkins, ran most of the time. But they just still, even when he was passing, they just never seemed to get to him. Couldn't quite get to him, and I haven't seen him do that yet.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of an adjustment for the defensive line. There's no question. When you lose guys like, Robert McCray and Greg Gooch especially, and you have to bring in a grad transfer to kind of shore up the depth along the interior of the defensive line. So when you're playing a lot of younger players, within that front seven, it's sort of to be expected. But, I think, if that kind of continues through the Ball State game, then, it's probably more of an even greater concern, just because now, you've got, after the Ball State game, you're hosting Michigan State for the Big Ten opener on the 22nd. And so, issues like that will definitely have to get rectified by then, I think, if you're Indiana. But, as for right now, I mean, they've still got, at least another day of prep before, the Ball State game and can, have some time to sort it out. But there's no question they'll have to improve.
Stu Jackson from thehoosier.com. We appreciate you joining us. Look forward to talking to you again next week. See you on Saturday.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Jim. Appreciate it.
You bet. Stu Jackson from thehoosier.com. You can check his work out there. So we've got that game coming up Saturday. I think it's going to be a better game than people think.
Yep.
Again, they went into South Bend, took on Notre Dame, played them to an 8-point possession game. Defensively, did a great job against them.
I would have thought that this game was going to be a blowout until that line of 14 came out. Then that's kind of just threw me off. I think it'll be a close game as well.
Yeah, so under 14?
I think so, yeah.
What's the over-under?
That's a great question.
Because it would not have been hit in the Virginia game. I would have lost that, but I did not plan on the rain. This game, they should not have. I say they shouldn't have problems scoring, but Ball State had a great defensive effort. They limited Notre Dame to 24 points, which was a good effort. They sacked them 3 or 4 times. They had 3 or 4 tackles for loss, 3 interceptions, I think. So defensively, they are all over Notre Dame, which wonder if they can continue that effort. I think that it's a different type of offense. It's a little more spread out. Indiana is pretty balanced, has been so thus far this season. Run to pass, pretty equal, but there's a lot of short passes.
Over under of 57.
Wow, I'm gonna have to think about that one for a minute.
Do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to contemplate. I'll contemplate that during the break.
There you go.
And while I'm contemplating that as well, don't forget we've got a Bubba's Free Lunch Friday coming up tomorrow. In addition, we've got tickets to the Ball State football game that will be given out tomorrow as well. So if you can go, you've got a shot to go for free, thanks to Bubba's 33 and Indiana Sports Speed. We'll be back with Terry Hutchens right after this.
Tell me that it's evolution. Well, no, we don't love to change the world.
Hey, if you're in the market for a new truck or tractor, car, or ATV, you need to be at Hollis Auction Service on November the 10th. Located on Highway 150 in Greenville, just west of Highway 335, Hollis Auction Service also needs items for the auction. If you're looking to sell, call Billy Joe Hollis today at 502-664-1606. That's 502-664-1606. Make sure you're at Hollis Auction Service in Greenville on November 10th. Today's guest is brought to you by Kentuckiana's Premier Truck Center, located 5 miles north of downtown Louisville, just off of I-65 at Veterans Parkway in Clarksville. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Jim Coyle sitting here. Headphones not working too well there. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Like I said, Jim Coyle. Justin Kalen high atop the Crew Chiefs box. We're joined by Terry Hutchens from CNHI, 20-year veteran, as we are each Thursday. Terry, how are you doing, my friend?
Good. How are you today?
Good. Saw the IU Hall of Fame class of 218. Brian Evans heading that class in. Someone that's covered the Hoosiers as you have. You got to see Brian play. What were your impressions of him as a player?
I didn't really get to see him as a player, but I know Brian really well and have gotten to know him over the years. He was an All-American in '96. I started covering the Hoosiers in '98, but he was just one of those really versatile guys, and guys could do just a little bit of everything. I think there was, I can't remember the statistic, or it's a trivia deal, but when he left IU, he ranked in the top 10 in just a whole bunch of different categories, like 7 or 8 different categories, and because he could do a lot of things well, and a really good leader. And no, he's a great addition to that Hall of Fame class. I think there were 6 people that were announced on Wednesday.
And all the things that he did do well, but he did it, I don't want to say quietly. It's not that you didn't know he was a good player, but you didn't realize he was that good, such an all-around player at the time, I don't think, the average fan.
Yeah, I think that's true. And then, he went to the NBA, and he was drafted by Orlando, and, kind of had a modest NBA career, but no, he was a guy that, he kind of came in on that tail end of, his first couple of years was the end of, that group before that, I think were some of IU's, better teams of recent years that did not win a national championship. When you're looking at 92 and 93 in particular. I think he was a freshman in 93. So he played with guys like Alan Henderson and Calvert Chaney and that group. That Indiana recruiting class of 1989, which I think is their best recruiting class in history. I think you can make that argument. Had 7 guys in that class. It was Calvert Chaney and Pat Graham and Greg Graham, Lawrence Thunderbird, Chris Lawson. Who am I forgetting? Well, I know Todd Leary was one.
Chris Reynolds.
And then Chris Reynolds was the other one. So, yeah. And that was quite a class.
Yeah. And plus, it was, I think, 5 out of those 7 were from Indiana, if I'm not mistaken. So,
That's right.
It was a great, great class. And then, as speaking of classes and recruiting moving forward, Archie has been very, very busy. He had 2 in-home visits last Sunday, I think, with Isaiah Stewart and Keon Brooks Jr., who were both at La Lemure, and then yesterday with Trace Jackson Davis. A really busy week for Archie.
Yeah, it really has been. The announcement that they got Armand Franklin out of Cathedral last week was huge, because it kind of keeps his momentum going. And, there are bigger targets he has in that class, but when you're able to, get things started with a guy, it's not a top 50 guy or whatever, but there's 2 things. I mean, he's on the radar in the fact that he's, a top 125 or 130 guy. And then beyond that, it's another Indiana kid. And, we talked a lot about that in the past, about how, in Tom Crean's last 4 recruiting classes, he had 1 Indiana kid. And now in 14 months, you've seen Archie Miller bring in 4. And so, I think when you talk to a lot of Indiana people, that's one thing they really like, is the fact that, you're getting an Indiana flavor on the roster again. And you alluded to it right then. When you look back on classes like the one we just talked about, and you're talking about, you had Calvert Chaney from Evansville, and Pat Graham from Floyd Knobs and Greg Graham from Warren Central. And, Chris Lawson was from Bloomington. Todd Leary was from Indianapolis, played at Lawrence North.
And he had Bailey follow up the next year with that class as well.
Exactly. Dan Bailey next year. And so, and then Alan Henderson as well. And so you had, a string of succession, and then, Brian Evans, we just talked about him as well. No, I think that when you look back on a lot of those great Bob Knight teams, you think in terms of guys that were from the state of Indiana, and I think that continues to be a priority.
And now, if he's able to add Keon Brooks and Trace Jackson Davis to what he has built, as you just mentioned and talked about, what does that do for moving forward for Indiana and the recruiting of this state, which I've said many times, if you can recruit Indiana, you should be able to compete year in and year out just because of the talent that this state produces, which wasn't happening under Tom Crean, like you also mentioned. But if they're able to add those two guys to what he's put together, it almost closes the doors on the rest of the teams.
Yeah, I think it's when you look at a guy like Franklin first, the fact that, he had offers from Purdue and he had offers from Butler and I think that a lot of people actually were thinking he was going to go to Purdue, and, a lot of those crystal balls had him, headed to play for Matt Painter, and then, things kind of, turned around pretty quickly. I think he was offered in June by Archie, and that tells you an awful lot right there too, as to how quickly that came about. And now the guys you talk about, Brooks and Trace Jackson, here's guys that, again, these are guys that have been, probably the primary guys on his radar for a while. And I think at least one, and maybe both, will be at Hoosier Hysteria on Saturday night, September 29th. And so you'll have, it'll be a real festive atmosphere there. And, when you're at a Hoosier Hysteria and you've got Rob Finnessy and Romeo Langford and Demezy Anderson already there in this class. Armand Franklin will be there as well. And then, again, those kinds of things just simply have to help you gain that momentum. And like you said, you pick up a couple more of those guys, and you'll just have the feeling like, that whole thought that you can, close the doors on the state's boundaries and keep, the best kids in the state in Indiana. I think that'd be huge for Archie Miller and Indiana basketball moving forward.
Absolutely. And then this week on the gridiron, the Hoosiers will welcome in Ball State for their final pre-conference slate of games. But a team that's coming in, the riding kind of a high as they gave Notre Dame all they wanted up in South Bend last week, losing 24-8, but putting on a defensive effort.
No, they really did. They played really well. And, you look at Ball State, and that's a dangerous game for Indiana, because I wrote a column about it in all of our CNHI newspapers that it'll run today, and just about, when you look at the difference between Indiana football, if they're 3-0 after this weekend, compared to where they are at 2-1. It's a huge difference because, the magic number is 6. If you can go into the conference portion of your schedule with a 3-0 record. Now you just have to go 3-6 in the Big Ten. You still play Rutgers. You still play Purdue. Maryland will be an interesting game. I mean, Minnesota and Iowa. I mean, there's chances to win some games there. But if you go in there 2-1, now you have to go 4-5. It's a completely different thing, especially when you're playing in the Big Ten East, and you know you're going to play Michigan State and Michigan and Penn State and Ohio State. So, yeah, I mean, this is a huge game. I kind of came across a statistic I think is kind of interesting too. Is that Ball State has beaten Indiana 3 of the last 4 times they played. Beat them in 2008. Beat them in Kevin Wilson's first year in 2011. Beat them in his next year in 2012. Indiana won the last meeting between the two teams. I think it was in 2016. But when you look at the last 5 meetings, so that would be 16, 11, and 12, and also 2007 and 2008. Indiana won 2 of those games, 2007, 2016. Both of those years, Indiana went to bowl games. The 3 years they lost to Ball State, they didn't go to bowl games. And so I'm not saying that it automatically means if you beat them that you're going to go to a bowl game, but I think you put yourself in a better position.
Obviously, if you're not winning your pre-conference games, that you're putting yourself in a hole, because especially playing in the Big Ten East on top of that with a slate of games that they have coming at them. And then you mentioned Maryland, who is a team that's definitely on the rise. Matt Canada doing a great job. They're 2-0 right now. They opened the season with a win over Texas, a huge win for them. So Indiana, it's a must-win game for them. I think it's a must-win because of how difficult the season gets. But then now we've got Michael Penix, who didn't play in the Virginia game because of the conditions. But Coach Allen's already said that expect to see him and probably see a lot more of him. I'm thinking that you may see him for half the game potentially.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I think you're right. You're right, Peyton Ramsey. And if he's hot, I don't know. When you look back at that game on Saturday and you realize that Indiana doesn't fumble, that's amazing. I mean, that was a hard sideways rain. And you give the ball to a true freshman like Stevie Scott, and he carries the ball 31 times. He only has 1 play for negative yardage, and that was -1 yard. He doesn't fumble the ball. And then you have a guy like Peyton Ramsey who, isn't flashy, but does enough good things well and leads that offense. If Michael Penix if there's a need for him, great. But if not, I don't think they're in a big position where they feel like they have to rush him in, because I think still in the back of their minds they're thinking, if they can get through the season without him having to burn his redshirt year, I think that would really bode well for Indiana football in the years to come, knowing you could still potentially have 4 more years with Michael Penix Jr.
Yeah, it would be a great feather to have in your hat. It's going to be very difficult to get through the season without having to use him more than 4 times, I think, just from a depth problem with if Ramsey's running as much as he might be, then the potential for injury is always there, but let's hope not. But yeah, I think we're going to see him a lot, because I think eventually he becomes a starting quarterback this year. In my mind, they can't win more than 6 games without him, I don't think. I agree with you. Ramsey does the things he needs to do, but I don't think it goes enough beyond that to do anything special to win some games that may be within your reach, but are going to take a great effort. But we'll certainly see.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with you. I think that, I've really been impressed with Peyton Ramsey this year, and I think he's a completely different quarterback than he was a year ago. He can, and he really has this team. They're all looking being their leader. Now, if you need him, if you need Penix, great. I mean, it's good to know that you have a guy that you trust and you can do good things with, and it would be great to get him some seasoning. I mean, I would think if you could find a way to not use him in a game like Ball State, what that means is that if he does just play 3 more games, it's going to be 3 Big Ten opponents. You get a young guy like that, Big Ten experience, now you're talking about something. Florida International and Ball State would be one thing, but if you're playing him in big-time games, no. I mean, to your point, maybe you don't redshirt him. You know, maybe you play him, but and I agree. I think he is your quarterback of the future. There's no question about that. But at the same time, if you could get Peyton Ramsey into his junior year and still have 4 full years with Michael Penix Jr., I think you're in a pretty good spot.
I agree. Terry Hutchens from CNHI, I appreciate you joining us. Make sure you read his information in your local paper. CNHI is about 40 papers across the state. I know they're in the New Albany Tribune and Jeffersonville paper, so make sure you check your local listings. Also, you can get him at Indy Sports Hutch on Twitter. Terry, I appreciate you, man.
All right, man. Take care.
Thank you. Terry Hutchens, veteran beat writer for Indiana for 20-plus years. But, he's on the Peyton Ramsey bandwagon, which, like I said, he hasn't done anything wrong. Just for me, he just hasn't done anything special, which, again, it's a muted season so far. And especially the second game is almost it doesn't even count. But I still just think, I think his ceiling is where it is, and that, yeah, you need to win these 3 games because that's halfway to bowl eligibility, and that's crucial because it's a big money maker in and of itself, first of all. But when you play in the Big Ten East, your life's not easy, and it just got harder when you got a team like Maryland, who's not even in the Big Four, who's having a good season, off to a good start with a win at ranked Texas, or not at home against ranked Texas, rather, but Matt Canada, that's going to be a big deal because he's an IU guy coming in. So we got a lot to get to. Make sure you join us tomorrow. We'll be right back here again, live at 6 for more coverage. And for Justin Kalen, sitting high atop the crew chief's box, he's going to come off. Stay tuned for Kentucky Roll Call coming up next. I'll see you on the radio.